is Under 30 Minutes.
Start again. Good evening.
Good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you're sitting, because I still see some hue of sun. Welcome to JD's vlog, and this is Under 30 Minutes. I am Nisa, and this evening I am sitting with the lovely Sue Barker, and I am so excited about having this conversation. If you all follow, you know I say that word a lot. Excited, I'm always excited. It may not translate the same way on my face, but I'm excited because today she is actually launching. That's right, if I could have gotten some applause from the studio audience. She's launching her book on our platform, and the book is called Narcissism Has No Face. I am truly, truly proud of her that she has been able to accomplish such a feat. Sue, welcome to JD's vlog. How you doing?
I am wonderful. I
Right.
am excited.
Right.
I am so happy to be here. You know, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're so
Yeah.
welcome. I screenshotted something earlier today, and if I could find it before we get deep into the conversation, it would kind of reflect where my head is regarding the word narcissist or narcissism or narcissistic. It has been trending, I would say, over the past 2 years. More. But over the pandemic, we have heard that word used, abused, misused, and just, it's an easy word, uncomfortable situation. I think, I don't want to judge anybody, but sometimes it started to feel like everybody is now a narcissist. So could you, say good afternoon to our audience, and then introduce yourself, why you wrote the book, give us the proper meaning of narcissist.
Okay. You are quite right. And I made that point in my book as well.
Okay.
Where, everybody seems to know somebody that is a narcissist these days.
Right.
During the pandemic, I think I would have had you guys at my home.
Yeah.
Right?
We were trying to figure out when. So JD was like, when did she come? I'm like,
Yeah.
babe, it's during the pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was in 2019, and I had just started my journey as well,
Wow.
so I really, really appreciated the interview,
Right.
From that, it just kicked off.
Really?
Yeah, I had to kind of slow it down because it was so overwhelming.
Okay,
you
not
know?
not to cut you because this is your time, but going back to when we actually did that interview, people were so in tune with the
Yes.
conversation, and we were so surprised because I myself was newly introduced to the word, so I was kind of skeptical about, guys, what is going on?
Right.
You know?
So, narcissism is a thing that existed way back, even from biblical times. If you go back in the Bible and you look at people like Caesar and you would see the attitude. But it was not until, let's say, about between 50 to 52 years ago that they actually penned it as a thing. So you find on the DSM-5, people can actually be diagnosed with narcissism.
Okay, so you're saying less than, because Trinidad just turned 61 years in terms of being independent, and I remember saying, but that's not a very long time. Like in my head, when I look at my daddy's age and my mommy's age, they clearly existed while we were not independent. So now you're saying only 52 years ago did they define it?
Yeah. And when I say define it, clinically, to be able to put it together and say, well, yes, we could actually diagnose somebody with these symptoms that we see in here. And, they give it a name, which is narcissistic personality disorder.
Right.
So if you have narcissistic personality disorder, you are a narcissist. And the things that you do usually cause complications in relationships, and it is called narcissistic abuse.
Cheese and ages or cheese on bread. Before we go into the subtopics of what narcissism is actually about, let's talk about how did we get here? When did you decide, you know what, I've welled up enough information, I'm ready to speak again, share again on a bigger platform. When did you decide that you were going to put everything in a book?
I can't give you an exact time because it's a journey.
Yeah.
So on that journey, I try to escape it because, the topic is so complex.
Right.
So I try to run away from it. But when the Holy Spirit have something for you to do, you can't get away. Yeah. So I had the experience to be ensnared by somebody that is narcissistic.
Right.
And it is somebody that I had trusted. I ended up in a relationship, which you would see in the book.
Right. Is it a
The first story
tell-all?
is
Is it a tell-all? Are the
Tell-all.
names, are the names
Tell-all.
changed as a author myself?
Definitely.
As an author myself.
Yes.
I remember when I did my first edit, and the person was telling me, niece, you're going to have to change the... I'm like, why changing it? It's my story.
No, you will get
I
sued.
had to change the names, boy. So, that's
You
just a
had
little
to
light
pay.
moment there that actually happens when you want to do... Unless it's an autobiography. Do you change names in an autobiography?
Yeah, you should.
You should.
Unless if you get the consent of the people whose names that you're using.
Papa,
Yeah, you have to get it, or else you can,
end up in problems.
legal
All
implications.
right, all right. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
So while on my journey, I formed this group on Facebook, right, which is where we started this thing.
Right.
And people started getting interested. Now, when I was in that relationship, just go back a little bit, I was experiencing feelings that I never even knew existed, both good and bad.
Good and bad.
Yeah, because in the beginning of the relationship, it was like, why we didn't do this before? Because it was so perfect.
Right.
It was a fit like if I had his rib, and and it was so truly amazing.
All right. So are you saying, because my struggle with the defining of the word and attaching the qualities onto somebody else is, sometimes I'd be like, I could see that little trait in me sometimes, or somebody that's close. So when you said, if you see this trait or whatever, you are that. And I'm like, that kind of hurt. I don't like how that feeling.
No. That's why people
I don't
need
like
to
how
get
that
the book.
feeling. So
The thing is, Anissa, narcissism is a human thing, right? It's a psychological thing.
Right.
And humans are afflicted with narcissism.
Right.
Narcissism is on a spectrum. So based on where you fall on the spectrum, it will determine if you are a narcissist or not. But we all have narcissistic traits.
Okay, that makes me feel a little not so heavy there, because it's portrayed, especially on social media, as something so... I'm not saying it's good, but the way is everybody... I was with a narcissist. And this is why I like the title of this book. Narcissism Has No Face.
That's why the title.
Yeah, because the thing is, the way it's been spoken about on media, where most of us have guts to share, it's in relationships, that eros relationship, the man-woman relationship. But this book basically says that it has no face.
It has no face.
So it can exist in every single relationship.
There are varying degrees of narcissism.
All right. What did you...
For comments.
Okay, great. All right, so JD's saying for comments. So let's just take a few seconds to welcome or talk to persons on your live.
Yeah.
So Kay Keys says Sue Barker, and she put love hearts. I don't know if you know the name.
Hi.
Kay Keys. Dots Lopez says good evening. And S. Celine says, your story sounds like mine. Indeed, the relationship is always perfect when in it with a narcissist.
Yeah. It is.
Talk to me about the faces, the different relationships.
So you can have, because as I said, narcissism is a human thing.
Right.
You have different relationship dynamics where you would find narcissism being the culprit of ill behaviors or complications. Right. Now, as you said, there are many persons on social media that speaks about narcissism. And they define all the different traits of a narcissist. Oh, they're grandiose and they're envious and,
Correct.
you know, and
Yes.
all you keep hearing is how a narcissist behaves. But what really is narcissism? And that is why I wrote the book.
Because I was just going to say, not to cut you, but we want all you, breaking into my local tongue, we want all you to not just hear what we're speaking today because we have 30 minutes or a little less or a little more. And we want you to support. When I saw the size of the book, I was pleasantly surprised. We want you all to actually purchase the book.
Yeah.
Before you go any further, is the book in any store? What is the plan for persons to actually have one for themselves?
Okay. I love that question. The book is presently available
Right.
by WhatsApping me.
Right?
With the first 100 copies, you get a free workshop because I do workshops as well.
Amazing.
So you come to the workshop with your book
Okay.
and we can go through the book and I can explain things from it
Right.
if you don't understand it, right?
Because somebody here, K Keys again, is saying, what are some of the things to be aware of in a relationship where the person may be narcissistic?
Well, you're looking at grandiosity. And again, I don't want to get into the traits because you have so much of it out there and
Right.
it is already listed in the book.
Right,
So
right.
buy the book, Keys. Yeah. What I really want to address this evening is
Right.
to clarify what narcissism is.
Right.
Because you don't hear people talking about what it is and how it is formed and what you can do in order to counteract narcissism
Right.
or somebody that has narcissistic traits.
Correct.
Right?
You hear the complaining side and
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So, you know, as humans, we have different ways of handling situations,
Correct.
right? What you call coping mechanisms. So there are times if you are hurt, if somebody die, you cry.
Yes.
Even if you're joyful, at times you cry because you want to get that release,
Oh,
right?
yes, needed.
There are times if somebody is not being nice to you, you choose to go no contact. You don't want to have anything to do with the person,
Right.
right? And that is the way you choose to cope with that situation at the time.
Right.
There are times when people experience so much hurt that they self-harm themselves because they can't deal with it. All those and much more are coping mechanisms.
Right.
Narcissism is a coping mechanism. The thing with narcissism is that it is hugely effective and it is complex
Oh.
as the word.
Did you hear what she said? Could you say that again if I asked you to say it? She said narcissism is a coping mechanism, which threw me there for a loop, because again, that's not how it's presented on media.
Exactly.
But what you said
Hence the
after, but what you said after was scary. You said it's what oh God, exactly what
It's
did you say?
hugely effective.
It's effective, which means it's almost, just like you said, people have coping mechanisms. So it's almost like a switch. You
Well,
could decide.
It is
a
more
little-
than a switch.
It's more than a
because
switch, okay.
narcissism develops in the formative years of a child's life.
Oh,
when a
my.
child is going through certain traumatic experiences, right?
Okay.
Narcissism has two constructs. It is a genetic predisposition plus your environment
Wow.
that could form narcissism. And when a child is going through a difficult period, if it is that child has been abandoned by a parent, if it is that child is expected to do more than they are able to do, and the parent always want more. No matter you get a grade B, it should have been an A, you know,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
Right.
Always pushing them, right? If a child is physically abused, sexually abused, and in that environment, the child can't handle it. There's an arrested development that takes place
Right.
to protect the child, to help the child to cope with the situation that is taking place there.
Right.
So that is when narcissism is formed. And what happens is a new personality
Oh my God.
arrests the normal personality,
Right.
the scared, hurt child that has been abandoned. So that personality is on the background. here comes narcissism to protect it. While that child's personality is developing and that false personality is formed as part of that child, it goes through the child's life.
Right. So, okay, we're talking about, you mentioned in a child, but very seldom do we go all the way back to anything. You know, we kind of like to diagnose in the moment, but the truth is, even if you do spiritual counseling or more natural type counseling, they always ask you to go back. And the thing is, I don't know how much of us have the time to really go back. So are you saying that that's the only way it can be formed, or can it be formed in fully grown
You
human
can
beings?
develop narcissistic traits because there are
Alright.
certain professions that require narcissistic traits. Because you have professions where they want you to exceed or excel,
Right.
you know, they're looking for certain, how I should say it, targets when the year come, like in my profession, for
Right.
instance, as an insurance advisor, right, we have certain targets to meet. There are professions like the military, right, where you have to have a certain grandiose attitude. You in this uniform, and you know you feel like you all that, you know.
Wow.
So and they train you like that, but it does not mean because you want to excel that you are a narcissist.
Okay, thank you
You
for
could have-
thank you for
Yeah.
clearing that up,
Yeah.
because you know sometimes you hear something, you don't know how to separate what the person is saying, one thing from the other. So that's very important.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Let me just Jess Carter, he says, or she, because Jess could be, I don't know. I'm so proud of Sue. She found her purpose on this journey, and that is to enlighten us and to help us heal. Thank you for your comment, Jess.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
If you're in
production.
a relationship, hi guys, I'm off camera, right? And you tend to notice the narcissistic traits. What is the percentage, or does that lead to someone being violent in a relationship?
Okay.
How
good
many
question.
violent persons, men or women, tend to be narcissistic when you already do the research?
Okay, so let me explain this, right? Narcissism is the root cause of a lot of the maladaptive behaviors that we see in society.
All
It
right,
doesn't matter.
before you move forward, I may know what maladaptive means, but somebody else may not. Could you
Okay,
give another word?
ill behaviors, bad behaviors, horrible people, right?
Right?
Abusive people, right? Yeah, so it is the root cause of it. When you look at the dynamics of narcissism, and because it is on a spectrum, you can have somebody, as I said, like normal people who, you know, want to achieve something and they have grandiose attitude and things, but they don't go overboard. Their relationships don't leave people in pain, you know, and you're looking at,
Right.
I kind of lose my train of thought there.
He asks about how many people expressing that is
The violence.
violence. Yes,
Right,
it's
okay.
violent.
Right, so depending on where they fall on the spectrum, because narcissism needs to be in control. The person who is afflicted with narcissism always has to be in control, every minute, every second of every day. That's their life. If it is that their control is being threatened, depending on where the affliction is on the spectrum, they can become violent. And it can also reach to the point where they are so high up on the spectrum that it will start to couple with other personality disorders like psychopathy and sociopathy and things
Wow.
like that. Yeah? All right.
I'm in the book here. Again, the title is Narcissism Has No Face. I have learned so much just from sitting here for a few minutes. And is this the first chapter? It says the first step towards change is awareness. You know, so all of us have so many questions. We also started by saying it's become a topic, especially now on social media, in Starbucks, wherever there's a relationship happening. But we also quickly just stated that it's not only eros relationships. It's not just about the man-woman relationship, but this thing that says narcissism has no face. Sue explained to us that it's a trait that any human being or all human beings can have. What she's saying now is that it's also something that, you know, you need to be aware of and then work towards that awareness and changing, I guess, if possible.
It all depends on the dynamic, because
Right.
there are different relationships where you would experience narcissism, right?
Right.
Like the parent, for instance.
Right.
You would experience narcissism in the church, the politician, the military person, you know, a friend, right? There's narcissism everywhere because it is a relationship. You would see it play out in different ways, right? I believe why it is more popular in the Eros relationship is because of the level of emotional abuse that takes place.
Right.
When you reach an adult, if you have a parent that is narcissistic, you can walk away.
I was just going to say that because JD and I did a rough draft of a kind of skit before you came. And what I was telling him after is that I don't really think that what we depicted was narcissism. It was just a normal couple being upset about something. You know, so it's not necessarily that I or himself was portraying a narcissistic trait. You know, that's why I think, listen, somebody is saying, Akena, good afternoon or good evening. She says, such an important conversation. I would love to get a copy of this book. They're saying, please share your WhatsApp with us so we can get this book. I guess.
Give us the number. Let me put up a contact there for them.
348-6586.
That number again.
348-6586.
Yeah, I think, you know, I know people. Yeah, I'm just not seeing anything.
I think we're still there.
I'm just not seeing any of us.
We should be back now.
I'm seeing us now.
Okay, we're back. All right, sorry about that, guys. We're back. My hand just hit something on this computer. You know, men.
Oh, no,
Sometimes
He
we
got
have
a
our
little
little...
excited.
no comment.
Forgive me, Nisa, you were saying, if you can remember.
I cannot remember what I was saying, actually.
Forgive me.
But I remember talking about the fake skit that we were doing inside.
Yes, we were talking about the fake
and
skit.
basically to separate having an argument, you know, whether the person pushing hard and you pushing back with hitting below the belt doesn't necessarily mean narcissistic.
No.
And Sue said before that you need to get the book so that you get the traits. You may see yourself in there.
Well, if you give me a couple of minutes here, let me explain something, right? I know what you and JD were probably playing is what 55% of persons believe narcissism to be, but it is not like that. And this is the reason why I chose to write the book, because I realized that a lot of people are being misinformed.
Right.
When I went on my journey to find out why it is I was feeling the way that I was feeling, and I started to experience, the pain falling off of me because of what I was finding.
Right.
Right? And I realized that this was bigger than me. I looked here in Trinidad to see if there was anybody that could have explained to me why it is somebody that I loved so much, why it is that he took pleasure in hurting me over and over and over.
Okay. I know we don't have a whole bunch of time, but
And
are
let
you...
me get that number one more time.
So you're going to put back the number? Let me see
Yeah.
if I can remember my comments.
348
348
65
65
86.
86. That's the number, guys.
Yeah.
Right. You are just attached pleasure. So is that the subtle difference?
Pleasure.
You said, you asked, why did the person I love find pleasure in hurting me?
Yeah.
So is that one of the subtle differences between our horrible definition of, probably somebody doing something and not knowing they're doing that, as opposed to somebody knowing they're doing it and liking that they're doing it? No remorse.
How about this? Somebody that is built to do it. Not doing it because they want to, but doing it because that is how they survive. Narcissists survive on three things. Control. They must be able to be in control of their victims.
That I know, yes.
Character traits, which means they align themselves with persons that can boost their ego. So if you're pretty and you have a good job and everybody know you, they want to be aligned with you, because then that makes them your mate. So
Right.
that gives them a character.
Okay.
Because you see, you have to go back to the childhood. Remember, their true personality was arrested.
Right.
So they don't feel anything about themselves. Their self-esteem is like under the white line in the road. So they look for people to align with, to help them to feel good about themselves. So narcissism protects them. It is not about you. We are objects to them. We are sources of fuel to them. We are objects. They own us. Once they ensnare you and you are able to tell a narcissist, I love you, or you're able to show them that you care,
Right.
they believe that they own you. So their behavior, and coming back to the skit you and JD had there, their behavior is not one where, okay, you get vexed now, one thing. Their behavior goes around in a cycle.
Okay.
So they start off loving you.
Okay.
They become what you always wanted. So when they get you under that control and they realize, they get bored. So they start to devalue you. Because they already have that control. So when they start to devalue you now and you start to react, they want that emotional response. So it shows them that, yes, I am still in control of this, but on a different angle, or from a different angle. So they get, listen,
Go ahead.
They get bored because they already conquered that. So they start to triangulate you now by looking for somebody else to give them the attention that you were giving them in the interim.
So, okay, so in your opinion, how does a narcissist, because you say they conquer one thing already, so is it that they're looking for another victim? Is the current relationship going to now end? They're going to look for somebody else,
It's not going to end. What they
not-
say is that they put you on a shelf
until?
because they already conquer you. Remember, they must be in control every minute, every day. They must have that rush. It's like a drug.
Right.
You know, they say when you take one shot of cocaine is too much, or whichever drug, and 1,000,000 is not enough. That is how it is with a narcissist.
All right, let me read a couple comments here before I give you a few minutes to say what
Right,
else
to get
you
the
may
book.
need to say about the book. All right, so Celine says they mainly cling to God-centered people. I noticed that a couple of my sister-in-laws noticed that they look for a woman of God that seems to have basically the submissive trait.
Let me address that from the book.
Hi, Hayden. Hayden, no, we're not having classroom today. Today is under 30 minutes, and we don't have many minutes left. We want to thank the persons that are on the live now for joining. Remember, the live will be up, so you can continue to share. You can look over, and stay tuned for more information on the book. But Sue has a few more things to say, so we want to give
So
you...
let me just address Celine.
Yeah,
When
Celine.
she say that
They
they
basically
look
look for
for
people that are
godly
submissive
persons,
or godly.
I'll just give you a brief idea as to what they look for in individuals, right?
And she's reading from the book?
Yeah.
All right.
So they look for individuals that are empathetic and compassionate, right? They look for individuals that have low self-esteem and insecure. So they can ensnare you.
Right.
Right? They look for individuals who like to please people, caretakers.
Right.
Right?
So,
They look for persons who are codependent. You grow up without a father in a home as a woman, and you get older, and now you want that love, you want that masculine love, you want that male figure in your life, right? They sniff you out, right? They look for people that are trusting and forgiving. They look for individuals that are vulnerable. And I want to address this. There's so much to talk about,
So
but I
much.
want to address the vulnerabilities. Because life transition always brings vulnerabilities with it.
Yeah.
Women that are going through menopause, when you're ready to retire, if it is you have surgery and let's say you have a hysterectomy, right? Your hormones start to play the fool, right? So they look for persons who are vulnerable and they make you feel safe. So when you feel safe in that space, they own you. But because of how they are made up, they really do not have empathy.
oh Lord, listen.
So emotional empathy is not a part of their personality.
Wow.
You see, so they, and to be fair to them, they behave on instinct. That is how they are formed. Right? Now, I don't want to end here
Right.
with, you know, with it looking so hopeless for individuals who are afflicted with narcissism.
Right.
Because there's hope, there's help. If it is that they would come forward and notice, oh, look, you know, I think I realize I have some kind of traits that I need to be addressed, you know. You can get cognitive therapy or psychotherapy, which I do,
Right.
right? But the challenge with that is because narcissism protects them.
It's easy to
Usually
go back.
they don't admit that something is wrong with them, something is wrong with you, for even thinking that something is wrong with them. And that is because narcissism protects them.
Wow.
See?
And I think that's why in the first conversation that we had, you were so very skeptical to just outright say, well, there's a pill that can cure this. Because
Exactly.
the conversation towards healing involves quite a lot. Sue was reading, I'm not sure what chapter she was reading from in terms of the traits.
on page.
While you're
the-
looking,
the
Brentos has a
traits.
question. Brentos asks, can narcissism be transferred from parent to child? We're going to try to answer that question and then we're going to get to the
Yeah.
end. People want to know where they could get the book and what.
Yeah, great question, Brent. Because of the makeup of narcissism being a genetic predisposition and the environment, there must be the two in order for narcissism to form. So if the child does have a predisposition, the genetic predisposition, and the child's environment does not allow it to flourish, then it will not form. So the genetic predisposition comes like the seed, and the environment comes like the soil. So you take the seed and you put it into the soil, and then you will get something flourishing, right? But if it is that you don't have the two, then it wouldn't form. Likewise, if you have a toxic environment, but the child does not have a genetic predisposition, it would not form.
It would not form.
Yeah.
So I guess the initial question, the answer to that would be no, unless there's the two
Exactly.
to the
There
seed
must-
and the soil.
Yeah, you must have the two constructs.
All right. He said perfect analogy. Thanks for your question, Brentos. Production, how much time?
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes to give the information.
Okay.
All
Of
right.
course, this is under 30 minutes, and because Sue, you know, we love you here, we went over.
Yeah.
The launch of her book, guys, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think again, just to congratulate you on taking the step to educate
Yeah.
people. I mean, my mother would always say, when the student is ready, the teacher would appear. That's a very, very big lesson. Read, guys. The book is how much?
The book is 300.
Did you say that before?
No.
Okay, because I saw somebody put it in the comments. So the book is 300 TT, and in the initial phase, the book is available by contacting Sue. We left her number in the, I think it's pinned.
It's pinned, yeah.
It's pinned in the comments. So if you're really interested in learning, and you're not learning to abuse, you're learning to educate, yourself or somebody else.
Yeah.
How do they go about getting it?
Say that?
How do they go about getting the book in their hands?
I would deliver it. Just order it and I'll do the deliveries. What I want to add to that is the book is also published by Hay House.
Right.
If you're familiar with Hay
I
House,
am
Balboa Press, they are from the United States. Louise Hay is a well-known person who does affirmation. She wrote books about it. It's her company.
Okay.
So it's going to be online. You will get it at Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, eBay, all the platforms from the end of September.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
I will be going to bookstores here to get it in the bookstores. But I want to do the initial distributing of it because I want to meet people who are interested in it.
Wow.
There's a lot of things in there that people will have questions for
Right.
or about, and I want to be able to give you that one-on-one,
Yeah, the space.
that workshop to help you to understand.
Alright.
Because narcissism is not my issue, it is not your issue, it is a societal issue. And I want to be able to help persons to understand that. Because every dynamic, every situation where you have people dealing with people, they need to know about narcissism.
Yeah, I agree primarily because education is oxygen. You know, far too often we just suck up what we hear the man on the block say, and that's not true education. I think education is sometimes going to the source, becoming vulnerable to information, even if it means that you become implicated as well.
And as I say, you know, the awareness helps to liberate.
Yes.
Because if you are in a relationship with somebody and they are being abusive to you, right, for 15, 20, 25 years, and I have people in my group. I have a woman who has been married to a narcissist for 34 years. And the thing about it is people stay in these long-term relationships because they expect change. But if you expect change, then you have to be able to work to get the change. You can't be doing the same thing over and over and expect difference.
Thank you,
right?
Pastor
So I
Sue.
am not saying to leave your narcissistic spouse. What I am saying is if you get educated, then you are able to help yourself to deal. Because if you don't expect change, if you know what I expect from somebody, it makes life easier.
Correct.
Right?
That what you said there's a mouthful. I just want to highlight the 1, 2, 3, 4, the last 4 chapters of the book. Chapter 9 is called My Story, and that's important for us to share. You know, sometimes we feed off of our human connection. So chapter 9, My Story, summary of my story, chapter 10, healing from narcissistic abuse, chapter 11, and chapter 12, finding love after narcissistic abuse. Is it possible? And, you know, I'm eager to read.
Yeah.
Right? I have a book inside of there called Something About Finding Love Again, and I remember every time I watch the book, I still have it, but you know, I'm good now, but I remembered how fearful I was just to open the book because of the title of the book. You know, it's hard to move on from situations without healing. So guys, if you're interested, as we said before, the number is pinned in the comments. We left as much information as we could. We went over the time.
It's on the screen. Number is on the screen.
It's on the screen. Aren't we supposed to pop something before we end? We doing that? We're not doing that?
Sue was supposed to bring the popping material.
Look at that.
Like
Look at that.
Sue forget the
We
whole
were
popping
supposed to
thing.
pop something and drink something
we have
and
a bottle of
congratulate
Moet,
you.
but I didn't get it in time. So,
Yeah, well, so next time we got
gosh.
but that's okay.
We got
What
have
I
you
want
back.
to mention before we close off is
Right.
that, you know, when we started, it was just me and my little Facebook group, right?
Yeah.
So because of Facebook and TikTok and WhatsApp, we have a WhatsApp group with 40 women where we support each other. You know, they could reach out to each other anytime.
Is it that you wanted it to be women or men allowed? Or
I have a group with men as well.
beautiful.
Brentos is one of those.
Beautiful Brentos. Thank you for being
Yeah,
in the group
and I
with
have
the
the guys
men.
from the radio station,
Beautiful.
and you know, I have a few men as well
That's
so I
awesome.
have 2 groups, and on Facebook we are almost 400 members, and on
Congratulations.
TikTok I have like over 400 followers, just because I just started that like a week ago.
Okay.
Nice.
You know.
Congrats.
No,
Congrats.
yeah, thanks. The what we do is a registered NGO, right? So we are asking for donations because we don't only teach, but we help persons who are afflicted from narcissistic abuse.
All right.
Right? Because you're looking at children, you're looking at, of course. But the main thing is the awareness.
Right.
So we are
Agreed.
an NGO, Trinidad and Tobago Narcissistic Awareness and Healing Foundation.
I love the healing part before the word foundation. Those are two very important words, healing and foundation.
Yes,
And all you
it's a
know is
healing
only ever go to
foundation.
church, you know the importance of a foundation, and we also know the importance of healing.
Yeah.
If we are to have better relationships in this life, sometimes we may think you had to conquer the world, but I always say it's not about conquering the world. It's about conquering the corner where God has put you in, and then allow Him to place you to be a light in other situations.
Yeah.
So, Sue, thank you again for joining us on JD's vlog. Thank you guys for, it's a different time, but thank you for joining the live, asking your questions. And I thank you in advance for supporting Sue and her foundation. Remember, she said they are an NGO. So if your heart is tugged at, or you know anybody else that can help by sewing into the foundation, again, that number is pinned on the screen.
Well, and part proceeds from the book goes towards the foundation as well.
And look at that.
Yeah.
So it's a whole goodness going on over here.
Yes.
So again, Sue, just say goodbye to the audience.
So thank you guys for joining in. Thank you for my team who out there know supporting me, the Titi Now team, Thank you guys very much, and let's do this. There's a lot of work to be done.
There is a lot of work to be done, and we want to thank you again for choosing JD's vlog platform as the platform to launch your book. My name is Nisa Production, who is JD #babe, let people like
Any
you now.
background, any
It's on production, and JD, we want to thank you for doing such an awesome
Well,
job.
thank you very much. I'm
Yes,
sweating
thank you
bees
for
in the back
having
here.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening, and see you guys sometime again during the week. Much love. Have a good evening.
All right, guys,
Okay,
don't forget to
bye.
share the live. Share the live before all you go. And if you're watching in the rerun, share the live. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Woo.